Hello and welcome everybody to round 8 of this BP D1 World Championship. We are on a quest to find out who will be the world champion by the end of 12 rounds here on the 2026 DLC. We are here for round 8 at the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix, where we are gearing up for a good race after a bit of a wet qualifying here around this 2.8 mile circuit. With a lot of elevation change, active aero zones are there. Turn 3, absolute tyre killer in the race to the left front, so you're going to want to decide if you're going to be on the 1 or the 2 stop strategy, because tyre wear is very bad here. As we now gear up for the starting grid for today's race, where we find both Cadillacs on the back row. Ayana Koji being ahead of Michael in 22nd, with Bradders and ZX not allowed to use softs anymore in qualifying from last week. Steps and Death Dragon will occupy 18th and 17th, with Jens with Baban 16th and 15th. Nico will be 14th alongside Ibrahim in his Aston Martin. David Svad will be 12th alongside Aqua, a Spaniard returning for the first time in a while. Pingu will be 10th, out qualified by Tilted in P9. Edward P8, disaster qualifying for Marko in P7. Pimaralda also makes a return, second Spaniard on the grid, P6, Kiki P5, Shaz P4 with Tig in 3rd, and we have Robin on the front row alongside Smeggy. Last time Robin qualified, he got a Cadillac into the top 10, so it's only normal he got an Alpine on the front row in the wet conditions. And we shall now head trackside and get this race underway.
As we now head to 5 red lights for the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix. And as foot to the floor, we're racing here in Spain. It's a good start from Smeggy. Edward is the only driver starting on a soft tyre. Everyone else is on mediums. Shaz is going around the outside of Robin into turn 3. And there goes Kiki around the outside of Pimaralda. That is a great move there from the Racing Bulls. There is a Williams at the back. That is Aqua. These two still side by side. Pimaralda getting back ahead of Kiki as they head now down into turn 4, where we're going to look a little further back to make sure that there aren't any instances. Massacrator going side by side here with a hat, getting a bit wheel hooked there as they come through turn 4. That was with ZX. Edward and Nico having a bit of a scrap as well. Edward seemed to have a little bit of a poor start. I don't think he was all the way down there. It's going off. That is Steps in the Aston Martin straight off at turn 7. I don't know if he had anyone up his inside, but the Aston Martin finds himself off track on the opening lap, with Smeggy continuing to lead from the McLaren of Shaz. From him as we go up front to Tig, who's going to maybe try and look at a move on Robin as they head into the first corner. He's not able to do it, but Marko will get ahead of Kiki. And there goes Davis Fat with Pingu. Pingu has to cut the corner. Not enough room for that McLaren as he went alongside that Racing Bulls. I wonder if he was shoved off or if he just had to back out because there was not a car's width, or if he just wasn't entitled to racing room. As we look up front to Shaz, who looks very close to the back of Smeggy, who's already starting to charge his battery. We could have a change of lead here as Shaz is going for the lead of the race here in Barcelona, and he takes the lead going into the first corner. Shaz, for one of the first times on pure pace this season, has taken the lead of a Grand Prix. Can he hold on to it and claim his first win and podium of the season? I'm sure McLaren would appreciate that, as they do try and close up in the constructors' standings after not scoring that many points in the first half of the season. As there goes Tig on Robin into turn 5. That's a bit of a late lunge there from that Mercedes. They're going to go side by side going down into turn 7. Robin not backing out of this. They go side by side through 7. No contact made. And hats off to Tig for holding on to that around the outside of turn 7. Very respectful racing from the pair of them. You're welcome, Nico. You're actually not losing that much time either, as Edward gets ahead of Pimaralda going into the first corner. Aqua gets ahead of Tilted and puts him up to P11. That's where he started this race. Nico has joined back. I love how I told Shaz about hosting issues, and he once again made Nico host when Kiki was right there, who's never had issues with Susan. Yeah, I get it. And again, I never have issues either. I've hosted a few races myself. Bradders and ZX swapping places. They're still side by side entering turn 5. ZX on the inside of Bradders. Bradders got the outside line though as they head down into turn 7. Teammates side by side into one of the tightest corners on the track, and they have made it work. Still side by side as they head up to turn 9. Someone's going to get pushed wide surely, and they still haven't had that big contact. Bradders does get ahead though of his teammate who now has to defend against DJ. There was a move further up though, I didn't see it. I think it may have been Robin on Edward. Edward, who obviously started on the soft tyre. Maybe he's starting to feel the tyre wear already as Robin gets back up into P3. If he can make a one-stop work from the softs, that would be great, as Edward does let his teammate through. They are on alternate strategies. That is the smartest thing that he can do. We continue to log up front with this fight. Robin will be under pressure by Tig surely down the straight. Edward dives into the pit after 11 laps on those softs. He can't handle them anymore. He's into the first corner. Robin and Tig. Robin braking early to try and go and claim the corner for turn 3, but he just doesn't quite have the grip to stay ahead of that Mercedes, and Robin has to concede P3 for now in this race. And these guys are obviously fighting for points for the lower end of the midfield. They're not going to be giving up places that much as Shaz calls it early, comes into the pits, coming onto lap 13. So he doesn't want to get undercut by Edward, so he's coming early. That puts Robin back up into the podium, and that puts Smeggy into the lead of the race. And Shaz is going to come out behind Nico. But is he going to come out ahead of this ZX fight? Still right on board with the Haas. He will come out ahead of ZX. That is crucial for Shaz's race. He has got plenty of clean air now to bring those tyres up to temperature, and Edward isn't actually that far off of Shaz either. There's only 2 cars between them. Edward had a massive undercut there. That could actually put Edward ahead of some of these leaders. If they're not careful, if they stay out too long. But now Shaz can nurse his tyres to the end of the race. He may have just secured himself the win, like Smeggy did last time out, where he called it early and overcut the rest of the grid. After boxing from the lead a lap earlier than everyone, he then controlled the race and took his maiden win of the season. And Smeggy will dive into the pits. Will he be joined by everyone else? No, Robin stays out. Robin will take the lead of the Barcelona Catalunya Grand Prix. And he'll be joined by Marko, Pingu and David Sva to stay out, as well as Pimarauda. But it takes around 18 to 20 seconds to make a pit stop around here. Now the remaining guys come into the pit, but David Sva doesn't. David Sva continues on. He's going for a big tyre offset. 15 laps on mediums, and for the first time this season, David Sva is going to lead a lap. Bradders and Jens again side by side, going into the first corner. Jens, Bradders going deep, taking to the according runoff area and respective rejoin, and I could have given him a track limit warning though for cutting the corner, as he does catch up to Jens quite quickly. I think Bradders just outbroke himself too much and had to leave the track. As we ride on board with Kiki, Pingu had a bit of a moment, exceeding the track limits there, coming out of turn 13. That's going to probably give him a warning, but it is going to give him a good run down into the first corner. Side by side, David Svad braking later than Pingu, who's going to bang wheels. David Svad, though, still staying ahead as they now go side by side round turn 3. Pingu is going to get run out of road here, surely, as they head now down into turn 4. Just about finding a gap there alongside David Svat. He's now trying an up and under, getting onto the grass momentarily, and David Svat survives for another day. We have Pimarauda trying to do a similar move on Kiki, who goes round the outside of turn 5. That is a great move from the Williams, who sends one up the inside of Pingu into turn 7, catching him napping. Pingu thought he was going to make the move on David Svat. Pimarauda gets 2 places in 3 corners. That is a great move from the Spaniard, catching Pingu napping, who thought he's got a good shot of getting P7, now finds himself in P9. on the exit of a corner. We're actually going to go to that. Tig backs out of it. We're going to come back to this fight. Pimarauda sending one up the inside of David Saad. There's contact, and Pimarauda has been somewhat spun round by the Racing Bulls. I don't know if he was enough alongside to have been warranted space, or if David Saad already started to turn in. Pingu now finds himself up to P7, benefiting from both of them ghosting. And we have now got Aqua in this fight now officially. Aqua going for the move on his teammate to get up into P10, but he goes deep into turn 10. That's going to allow Pimarauda to come back. The two Williamses are side by side. This is going to cost them time to the back of Kiki. But they are actually now gaining on Kiki as they come now through the final two corners. Aqua versus Kiki, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that far away. Aqua does have more battery than the Dutchman. Kiki already starting to recharge. Here comes Aqua coming into the first corner. Does he go for it? Of course he does. Up the inside he goes. The two former rivals from a few seasons ago. Kiki stays ahead of Aqua for now. I have a feeling this attack is going to get even more aggressive from Aqua on the next lap if he can get even closer. But now Kiki has definitely lost overtake mode to David Saad. He lost half a second to his teammate in that first chicane complex. Aqua is really gunning for this. And he's going to go for it up into turn 7. That is a bold move from the Spaniard. And Pimarauda is going to try and pick up the pieces coming into turn 9. As we now ride on board with the Racing Bulls, who now have to try and think about re-overtaking Aqua, but also defend from Pimarauda, who thinks of that, sending one up into turn 10. Pimarauda, though, trying to make a gap coming through turn 10. And is he going to try and hold it around the outside? He doesn't quite have the grip to pull it off. Aqua went aggressive into turn 7, got ahead of his old rival, and Pimarauda almost doing a similar move up into turn 10. As these three come down the main straight, Aqua's run out of battery. I think Kiki has as well, though. Here comes Pimarauda. Up the inside of Kiki, they bang wheels. Kiki has to go off the track. I'm pretty certain that is a push to pass from David. He will have to give that position up, or risk a 5 place, or risk a 5 to a 10-second penalty. And I don't think he is giving the position up. He is not. So Pimarauda in for a shot of a push to pass penalty, as he did not give the position back to Kiki. That is a for sure push to pass. Batteries he got. Shaz has got almost a full tank of battery to use down this main straight. He's doing it perfectly, I think. Even with Tig getting the extra power, when he runs out of battery now, Shaz still gets to deploy, but Tig is going to brake later than the McLaren. He will take the lead going into the first corner, but Shaz is going to try and fight this back round turn 3. But he has got better battery, so if he can just use more going into turn 4, he might get the move back, as he does use a bit more, almost. I think he could have sent one up the inside there. I genuinely think he could have, but is he going to go for it into turn 5? Tig leaves him the gap, but he doesn't commit to it. As we have got a stationary car, that is Bradders. So Jens and Bradders have been fighting all race long. I think they've had one bang too many. Bradders finds himself backwards in between 11 and 12. Could that have been contact with Jens? Only time will tell, as Smeggy is going for a move up the inside of Shaz. Shaz thought he was in for a comfortable win, but he's going to have to fight for it now, as even Edward is going to try and go around the outside of the McLaren. Edward also with a full tank of battery alongside with Shaz. The two leaders definitely got a lot less battery than these guys. Yeah, it's 8 laps. As there goes Edward. Up the inside of Shaz. In a turn 5. Through turn 7 they go. Does he back out? Yes, he will. So clueless, he sends it everywhere and just sends it everywhere. He's a bad driver. He kept hitting me into the corner. Yeah, I mean, I think he's done a similar thing, though, Bradders, to ZX, because ZX went for a move on Jens and then immediately got spun. So it looks like it's not just with you, it's both Hasses. As we see Edward going for the move on Smeggy. Smeggy isn't going to let that one go easily, though. He gets back ahead of Edward. No, host didn't leave. If you see that people are leaving on your end, and like host leaving stuff, then that's not you getting kicked, it's just you disconnecting. The only time I've seen the host leave was when Nico disconnected early in the race. That's the only time I've seen migrating host. But no one left before you did, it just showed you as leaving. Could have either been alone, or it could have been resulted with David, but I don't think he was close to the back of his teammate. And if it was with his teammate, that's just awful. As Steps is the fastest man on track with a 15.1. Go on, son. He's down in P19, but go on. Just think, if anything happens, mate, you might... Steps is just going for glory. Leave him be. He's going for glory. Let him have that fastest lap. That's all he can go. Then again, I'm surprised he got the fastest lap. Have you seen what he's driving? As we might still have a Kiki versus Aqua fight, if I'm perfectly honest with you. But Aqua finds himself half a second behind his old rival. Braking much, much later than Kiki. As they'll go into turn 5, Aqua is trying to go around the outside of his old teammate. I don't think they touch wheels. And now going into turn 7, Aqua gets ahead of Kiki once again. Once again, these two proving that they can race wheel to wheel without banging wheels. I just don't know what their exception was in Phoenix, because they couldn't seem to do it one race. As we now go onto the final lap of this race, we have 5 cars within mere meters of each other. Tig, once again, going to the inside of the track to try and keep Smeggy at bay, who's trying to keep Edward at bay, who's trying to keep Shaz at bay, but he's got a big gap to the Mercedes. If Edward wants to make it a Mercedes 1-2, he has to send it on this lap, and Tig has got to do everything in his willpower to stay ahead of Smeggy, who's trying to make it back-to-back race wins to help Ferrari out even more in the Constructors. And it looks like Tig is going to hold on to this, and he is going to take another win for Mercedes. I think this will be his first win in Mercedes after he was sacked at McLaren, after he'd just taken his maiden win. And for the first time in Mercedes, Tig is going to win a race. He wins the Barcelona Grand Prix. Smeggy will come second with Edward third. Shaz will settle for fourth, just ahead of Marko. Robin is going to be sixth. Pingu 7th, just getting ahead of David Swag. Pimarauda 9th, but with that looming push to pass penalty potentially coming his way, Aqua and Kiki will fight all the way to the line, but Aqua will become victorious in that fight. So it's a first win for Mercedes. And Tig got fired from his old employer after he took his first win. Let's hope Carrot doesn't keep that tradition going. Tig just needs to find a team where he can actually stay and take a few more wins. It almost was a Mercedes 1-2, but Edward just couldn't find a way past Meggy in those closing laps. And Shaz, who was leading this race for almost half of it at one point, somehow comes home in P4, nowhere near the top 3, about a second off them as we came to the end of this one. What a race that was.